What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about a video that was dropped by Matt vs. Japan. Don't worry, it's not a scandal. This video is the language school that teaches adults like babies. Now, this is a 32-minute long video. It's actually really good. It's like almost documentary style. So I highly recommend you go watch it if you haven't already. Now, I've had so many people ask me to do a review on this video because a lot of people believe that I am very against what is discussed in this video. So I'm going to give you a summary of the contents, and then I'm going to point out some issues, not necessarily with what Matt says, but assumptions that are being made along the way. And also the fact that this can be quite depressing in a way if this is true. Like, I will work on the assumption that it is true and also not true and give my thoughts based on that. So first up, what is this video about? Well, it covers basically the life story of Dr. Marvin Brown, who was a linguist professor who basically learnt Thai to a very, very high level, considered almost native level, using traditional methods. He tried to teach Thai in Thailand, also back in the US. He never had any real success teaching. Students were never really happy with like the outcome of basically his courses. And he spent his entire life trying to search for methods in order to actually teach Thai in a way that would allow students to walk away native level. That's basically the summary, although there's a lot more details and it's not exactly like that, but that's basically like the takeaway. Now, that's the first 80% of the video, and then the back end of the video basically talks about the ALG method, which was developed based on Krashen's theories, and it basically goes into this method and how it was used at a school, and basically the results of using this method at the school, and the successes and also the failures, and what we can learn from those, apparently. So first up, what is this method? Well, if you've been following my channel for long enough, you've probably seen me doing Dreaming Spanish videos. Like, I've been doing reviews of Dreaming Spanish. I'm up to 100 hours in, and Dreaming Spanish kind of uses the ALG method. I say kind of right now because it's not exactly pure ALG in how it works, because, well, you don't have teachers who can actually look back at you, analyze your reactions to what they're teaching. It's just videos. You just go based on videos. So it's not like the proper method overall, but it's as close as we can get without going to Thailand and jumping into a classroom. So I've already been using and testing this method to learn Spanish, and I am following it to the T. Like, I'm purposely not doing any talking. I'm just doing input. I'm just watching content. I'm not doing any lookups. And I've already dropped my 100-hour video, and a lot of people were not impressed with where I'd managed to get to after 100 hours, although some were kind of. But let's talk about what this school says will happen and what is expected there and what's mentioned in the video. So they talk about basically a 1.5 year span with where students will go in with no Thai, come out, some will be native level and others will come out basically like any other student with a broken version of Thai that's heavily infused by the thinking of their native language. And then they analyze why some students came out so good and some students didn't. And that's where some assumptions are made. So first up, 1.5 years, which is about 5 hours per day, for a total of about 1,800 hours. And the students are told at the beginning, do not attempt to speak the language until you can spontaneously speak the language without thinking about it. And the assumption is that it happens around 900 hours, but, you know, it's give or take depending on your native language and how similar it is to Thai. So obviously, like, Westerners like me who speak languages that aren't related to Thai in any way whatsoever will probably have to wait longer, but if you speak a language that's closely related, you'll start spontaneously speaking sooner. Now, in the video, they analyze the students that come out of this program, and they've come to some assumptions based on the students that come out of the program who speak it well and who don't speak it well. Now, the ones who speak well follow the program to a T. Basically, they do not do any speaking early on. They do not try to speak Thai. They basically just sit there and then they wait for that period of time when finally they can just spontaneously start speaking, which again is around 900 hours. Now, the students who come out with like a broken version of Thai are the ones who ignored that recommendation and tried speaking Thai from, you know, day one or early on and basically forced early output. They also said that students who basically used dictionaries or took notes or basically asked questions also came out with a broken version of the language. And then the final assumption is that this is due to the fact that they are analyzing the language. They are mentally analyzing the language, and therefore they're not allowing themselves to just, absorb the language naturally. There is a lot of assumptions that are being made here, and one of the big ones is from Dr. Brown himself. He wanted to test this on himself because he had never actually learnt a language in this way. So he went and used this method to try learn I believe a dialect of Chinese, and he did that over a period of 8 years at 2 hours a day with a bunch of other teachers, and at the end, he actually failed to learn that language to a native level. Now, he made assumptions at the end why he failed. And the thinking is that because he's a linguist, he was automatically analyzing the language. Like every time he'd hear the language, he'd analyze it, he would look for, relationships between words and stuff like that, and, his native language and the languages he knew, like Thai, etc. And as a result of analyzing the language, he was thinking about the language, and therefore he did not, develop an instinctive understanding of the language, and therefore he ended up speaking it very broken-like. Now, I say this is an assumption because, they never tested this theory. And I guess it would be very hard for Mr. Marvin Brown or Professor Marvin Brown to do it himself because, one, he died after that, but two, also, he's a linguist. It's very hard to turn off that analytical part of your brain, and I don't know if they tried, maybe it's mentioned elsewhere, and someone will probably let me know in the comments if they tried with another person who didn't analyze it. But what I get based on this video, and based on what I've also learned about ALG elsewhere, is that those students who do no thinking, no analyzing, just sit there, absorb the language, are the ones who come out fluent in the end. Now, if this is true, this is upsetting overall for the vast majority of language learners out there. Why is this upsetting, you might be asking? Because it means if you did any analyzing of your language from day one, you're probably screwed. You probably created in your brain a bad idea of the language overall, and therefore you're not going to come out native level. So I'm screwed in Chinese, I'm screwed in Esperanto, even though I speak it fluently. Spanish, I'm still probably safe because I haven't analyzed it much. I have done a little bit of analyzing here and there, mainly when I make the videos, but I don't know when that little amount starts impacting on the idea here. But there seems to be a lot of assumptions made here without actual proof of this. They don't show say a study where you got one set of students who analyze while they do it, and then one set of students who don't analyze. There's none of that's done. This is just the assumption based on basically what they've seen over many, many years. Now, here's my issues with this overall, because I learned Esperanto in the most traditional of methods, and I can speak Esperanto fluently now. Although, I forget words from time to time, and, I'll get stuck here and there if I haven't used it in a long time, because, you get rusty with a language just like anything. But if I wanted to, giuste nun mi povas paroli Esperante sen pense, kai estus tre facile por mi. So I could easily just swap into the language without any problems. And I know Matt vs. Japan, he learned using traditional methods. A lot of people aren't aware of this, but he learned just like we did, using traditional methods, and then later on he became a big proponent of learning, using just input-based theories. And I'm assuming it's because he followed the same path as, Dr. Marvin Brown, who wanted to get to the native level. So most people will say, Matt vs. Japan, his Japanese is basically native level, but according to himself, there is still an issue with his Japanese. He's still down deep, he feels, and there's a good quote in here, and someone actually quoted it in the comments. Let me just find it for you. When I speak in Thai, this is a quote from Dr. Brown himself, I think in Thai. When I speak in English, I think only in thought. I pay no attention to English. So what Matt is implying here is that in some ways, he still has an English brain, even behind his Japanese brain. Maybe he's just managed to map it out so well that, the English is almost non-existent, but it exists somewhere deep down. Now, the belief here, or the hope here, is that by doing all of this, you will be able to step out of this and you will just speak like a native without ever thinking about the language. And the funny thing is, I don't think about Esperanto except for maybe if I'm very, very rusty or I'm trying to speak about an area of the language I've just never spoke about before. So it's not like I will sit here and go, okay, what's the English translations and stuff. So I don't believe that this is the only way you can reach a very, very high level. Now, whether you want to reach native level or not, okay, personally for me, I don't think that's like a goal that's worth me personally chasing, trying to get to native level, because I feel like that's just an endless run. Like you're going to be running that path forever, because even a native every single day is picking up new words, structures, ideas. I think realistically, to get to a native, it basically has to be your language. Like, you can't have other languages. It needs to be your language, and it needs to be your language for so long that eventually the other languages start to, get pushed to the wayside, and you just work and live in this language. That's what I think a real native would be. Now, also, I know people will say, well, there's also the accent stuff, and maybe that is where ALG, really takes the cake. Maybe ALG helps you get the perfect accent. But even they admitted themselves that when the students come out of this, they don't have native-like abilities, but some of them later on get native-like abilities. Now, Dr. Brown himself was quoted as being basically native-like, and he had learnt using traditional methods. So what I think, but he does say, one of his proteges who followed this is actually better than him, but I don't know if that's modesty or not. However, what I think is that there is actually just multiple ways to learn a language. And the way that you take in the end is realistically the method that you feel will just help you get there the fastest. So if you want to take this method, you got the time, you don't need to speak for 900 hours, then yeah, follow this method. Fine, do this. I don't have any problems with this. However, the problem I have is when people say you can't learn using other ways, otherwise you will end up with a broken version of the language. I don't think there's actually evidence of that, because you get broken people coming out of this method and you get broken people coming out of other methods. At the end of the day, you've got Matt vs. Japan over here who speaks very, very high level Japanese, and realistically, and he lives in Japan, or he's lived in Japan for like a very long periods of time. And you've got, for example, Dashan in China, who's a Westerner, who basically spent his entire life there, and he's basically reached native level, although I think he's in Canada now. But my point being is that if your goal is to reach native level in a language, this language needs to become your life, essentially. Like, you basically have to give up on whatever else you've got and just make this language your life, live this language, be in this language, etc., etc. But for me, that is like, the effort to reach that level is so insane beyond like a good enough level that I don't see the need for that, okay? So if I can get to a level where I can easily discuss like any topic in a language with, say, a native or someone of that language, someone else who speaks it, for example, Esperanto, that's good enough for me. Like, sure, I might have some random little bit of an accent here or there, but do I really want to spend those thousands of hours necessary, following a very, very specific, rigid method in the hope that maybe I will walk away with a native accent? Not for me, but maybe for other people. But overall, it was a very interesting video. I do recommend you guys go check it out. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Because for me, Spanish, I have no urgent need for this language, so I can just take my time, sitting here quietly, watching videos day by day, hour by hour, because I have no rush or need to learn this language. But for a language like Chinese, where it is a daily need for me, I would rather have a broken accent and broken Chinese and be able to communicate than wait thousands of hours in order to be able to spontaneously, or hundreds of hours if it's 900, in order to spontaneously start speaking with perfect sounding Chinese. I think my Chinese is good enough, pronunciation and accent wise. The real issue with my Chinese is just, I just need to learn more words and improve my grammar. And I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, well then, I will put you in a dark room and make you silently watch endless hours of my channel until you develop the Evildea accent.